Hi, this is Gil Cargill. Thanks so much for your interest in our AI-powered sales acceleration tools. This webinar is going to show you how implementing AI in your sales and business development environments will drive your top line up by 36% or more and improve your bottom line in proportion. Essentially, AI is going to help you to compete many more times per month or per year than you could without having to hire additional salespeople. In a phrase, we're going to show you how to use artificial intelligence and ChatGPT-4 to boost profits and, as the tagline says, eliminate cold calls. Let's get going. I'm known as a lead generation expert due to the fact that for the past 48 years, I've worked with over 7,000 businesses to help them improve their top and bottom line. As you can see on your screen, I've been awarded a lot of accolades and covers of magazines because of my unique ability to help clients generate more leads. Now, up until now, I've accomplished this by training my client salespeople. But what we're doing now with artificial intelligence is we are actually helping our clients implement this technology because the technology does the work for you. So I could have trained you in the past to generate leads, but then you had to do the work. Now we're training bots to do the work, and you don't have to do that drudgery of cold calling and prospecting. I hope that meets with your desires and your needs. I have to admit, though, that out of the thousands of salespeople I've trained, 2 or 3 said they thoroughly enjoyed cold calling. But after I did a little research, I found that their medications had worn off and they needed to refill the prescription. So that's my joke for the day, no more humor. But if you're looking for ways to grow your top and bottom line, artificial intelligence and the bots that are driven by it are the solution. Bots are very inexpensive. Bots will do work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One of the things I like about bots is they never show up late for work, they never drink at work, and they never give you a lame excuse for sales failure. As we go through our presentation today, you will learn how we increase the top line by 36%, how bots can actually pick up the phone and make prospecting calls for you, document those calls, record those calls, qualify the prospect based on your rules of engagement, and then move the prospect into the appropriate follow-up category. Bots will generate many more leads because you'll be able to compete more often. One of the things I've observed with most small businesses and entrepreneurial ventures is that we undercompete. In other words, there may be 1,000 decisions occurring in your market this month, but you're publishing 80 proposals or quotes. So your consideration rate is very, very small, and we want it to be 100%. Bots will close that gap for you and help you achieve that success. As I said a moment ago, bots will qualify your leads. They will actually book appointments into your calendar and your prospects. They will increase your volume and your velocity of opportunities going through your sales funnel, and they will reduce the attrition of employees and customers. You see, customers leave existing vendor relationships because the customer feels neglected. As you're about to learn, we have automated follow-up campaigns that we'll build for you that make sure all of your customers feel appreciated and valued, and as such, that retards their interest in leaving your company to go to one of your competitors. One of the benefits of our approach is we do it all for you. There is no training required for you or your people to benefit from a sales android, my nickname for them, to work at your side but not on your payroll. You see, the reason this works so consistently is the average salesperson, according to multiple studies, has to deal with 83 disparate tasks every day. And it's virtually impossible to change hats 15 times an hour to do 83 different things. So something slips through. And the one thing that tends to slip or get postponed, the easiest sales task to postpone, is cold calling. As a result, it doesn't get done, and as a result, you undercompete. Now, entrepreneurs and employers have tried all kinds of techniques to improve their lead flow. They've hired callers and appointment setters, but those men and women rarely produce the permanent boost that the companies want and desire. They've fought the increasing cost of dealing with employees. They've had to deal with management headaches. Every new prospector has to be trained. If they have poor performance, they have to be replaced. Many managers, many business owners wind up almost on a treadmill of hiring, trying them out for 2 or 3 or 4 months, letting them go, and repeating the process. They have to go through this training and onboarding. And worst, and this, in my opinion, is the biggest frustration, business owners have to deal with the excuses. Your prices aren't right. Nobody on that side of the freeway ever bought from us. Why did I get this lead? There's no phone number in it. Those excuses evaporate because bots will qualify your leads, generate those leads, qualify them, and book appointments. So there are no excuses moving forward for your salespeople to pick up good, high quality leads and turn them into good, high quality customers very quickly. As you're going to learn, bots literally level the playing field. Many of my small clients have told me that their competitors have 10 times, 100 times more salespeople than they do. And as a result, they don't get to compete as often as they like or they need. We're going to show you how to use bots and hire them, quotes around that, to reactivate dead accounts and or dead leads, to set appointments, to cold prospect, to reach out to those strangers very rapidly and efficiently, to qualify those leads, create referrals automatically. Every one of your new customers is worth 2 or 3 or 4 referrals if and only if you solicit them. Bots will solicit them professionally in a non-intrusive fashion to generate the referrals that, as we all know, are the best leads ever. Every website visitor should be responded to instantaneously. And in a moment or two, I'll talk about speed to lead, but most website visitors are not acknowledged nearly quickly enough to be able to deal with the opportunities that they bring to the company. We will be able to do massive voicemail broadcasting. Social media posting is done automatically. Google review and reputation management, where appropriate, is in place. And most important, we create and maintain conversations. Now, this report was published in the fourth quarter of last year, 2023. 74% of business owners surveyed said they were going to utilize chatbots to generate responses to customers. If you don't get on this wave at this point in time, your competition will. I predict the companies that utilize chatbots best will be the companies that dominate their respective markets into the future. Everything else on that list comes behind bringing new business to your front door. So let's work on utilizing artificial intelligence to drive revenue and profits. Now, one of the things that you'll appreciate is that you can't drive revenue or profits until you increase both the volume of deals going into the top of your funnel and the velocity of those deals coming through. We want to increase both volume and velocity, but the problem is manifested by a phenomenon that I call funnel leakage. You see, management knows what they paid, and I emphasize the word paid, to put opportunities into the top of the funnel. And we clearly know how many opportunities came out of the bottom, but we don't have funnel visibility. Leakage occurs inside of the funnel, and all too often we don't know why, and we have no follow-up in place to pursue that. Let's take a closer look at that phenomenon. I've divided the buyer's journey into two huge segments. Number one is the decision stage. That's 4% of the prospects. 4% of the people that come to your website are what I refer to as now buyers. They decided one day they needed a new copier. They needed a new office building, needed a new car. Whatever they decided, that made them a now buyer for that product. They typically would go to Google, search for whoever sells that product or service, and if you're one of the lucky winners, they'll come in and shop with you. Unfortunately, 96% of the leads that you paid to generate are either in the consideration stage or the awareness stage. These are future buyers. The problem with today's business to business selling environment is we all too often allow the future buyers to evaporate, leak out of the funnel. Once you've implemented our Autopilot bot-driven system, you won't have any funnel leakage. 100% of your leads will be touched, quantified, and qualified conversationally, and then assigned to the appropriate category. By stopping the leakage, we increase your top and bottom line and lower your cost at the same time. Here's an example that came from a study done by the Dartnell Sales Institute. As I said a moment ago, 4% of all leads are now buyers. 96% of those leads need nurturing. In the traditional human-based environment, you are relying on human beings to do that nurturing. Now, that nurturing, according to the Harvard Business Review, requires 7 to 12 touches per year. Those touches can be phone calls, emails, faxes, face-to-face visits, Zoom meetings, you name it, it doesn't much matter. But it does require time and effort. So at some level, sales teams or business development teams have a finite capacity to nurture leads. Our system will assign your leads based on their criteria to the appropriate follow-up campaign, and we will stay in touch with them perpetually. Literally, over the course of a year, one small system can generate and maintain tens of thousands of relationships for sales organizations like yours. Now, what would happen if all the future buyers in your market knew about you, knew your value proposition, and were considering you when they evolved from a future buyer status to a now buyer? Now, I'd like you to take another look at this slide. Here's another part of the problem that bots overcome totally. 50% of salespeople that were surveyed by the Dartnell Institute abandoned their effort to get a new account after one attempt, 90% after 4 attempts, but that same study found that 45 to 63% of the people that said no or not now will buy an identical product or service in 6 to 18 months. And that literally screams you've got to get in touch and stay in touch with everybody all of the time. Now, I have 2 different sales cycles displayed on your screen. The blue slide deals with the traditional sales cycle. As you can see, marketing, i.e. salespeople, have to gather data. Data is passed on to other salespeople. That starts the cold calling process. They receive mediocre results. The team frustration is high, and they do it again. Take a look at the green. Marketing gathers intent data based on bots surveying and communicating with prospects. Automation tools tag the warm leads. The warm leads, qualified leads that know your value, they've shared their timing, they know your budget, they have the power to make a decision. Warm leads are passed on to the sales team. Sales team personalizes their outreach, they close deals, and marketing ROI is very clear and very profitable. Let's have a better sales cycle, which bots will produce for you. Now, Gartner predicts that conversational artificial intelligence, AI, will reduce contact center labor costs by $80 billion in 2 years. You heard me, there's an $80 billion savings in the aggregate for sales-driven organizations that utilize products like our system, Sales Autopilot. They will use Sales Autopilot to accelerate response time, improve communications, increase productivity, automate lead generation, and reduce cost. In a phrase, Sales Autopilot will pay for itself very quickly, and more importantly, it will continue to pay profits to you on a month-to-month basis. In conclusion of the background that I've learned in the past 48 years is that the problem with lead generation and marketing in general has very little to do with your people, but more often it's a problem with your process. So let's have a little fun. You guys are looking at the first sales team selling telephones here in Los Angeles. I call this the beginning of modern B2B prospecting. These guys had a sign, which you can see, that basically says, have you a telephone in your home? When you have no competition, when there's no other players in the market, you can be that unsophisticated. Clearly, there are very few products available today that are that unique in comparison to the other communication techniques. Remember, back in those days, if you wanted to talk to somebody on the other side of town, you had to get on your horse and ride over there, or get in a Model T Ford or drive over there. We don't have that problem anymore. But one of the problems that Autopilot does eliminate is speed to lead. Studies have shown that if we respond to an inquiry in less than 5 minutes, versus more than 5 minutes, we will have a greater than 300% improvement in our chance of having a conversation with a valuable decision maker. Conversely, if we are slow in our response, then we won't have any chance of getting that decision maker on the phone and into our sales funnel. So autopilots respond to inquiries instantaneously. We can set up autopilots to answer the phone and have a conversation with your prospect, asking qualifying questions, ascertaining budget, authority, need, and timing. Once those criteria are satisfied, the autopilot bot will assign an appointment in your calendar and in your prospects. Another study showed that 62% of inbound calls were never responded to. So 62% of the companies or the prospects that were now buyers, because future buyers rarely call in advance of their purchase, they are now in the now buying category. They left a voicemail and no one got back to them. That adds to your cost. So let's pause for a moment and digest what I've been saying. What would happen if you contested all desirable decisions? What would happen if you never showed up a day late and $1 short for that next sale? What would happen if you maintained relationships with every prospect in your market? Thousands of now and future buyers that know who you are, know what your company does, and know the value that you deliver. What would happen if all of your active customers got regular thank you messages and were asked to give you referrals consistently? What would happen if all of your dormant customers were reactivated and all lost sales were revisited? When you do this, you'll be able to raise your prices and reduce discounting. Now, the reason I say we can reduce discounting is because when a company or a salesperson has dozens of qualified leads, we're less incented to discount to get the deal. If you only have one deal pending, we will tend to do anything and everything to get that deal to buy, including discounting enormously. Now, one of the concepts I like to talk about is how big is your marketing footprint. And the reason I say that is I firmly believe somebody's buying something from someone right now, and they're in your industry. The problem is we don't obtain nor maintain enough relationships. Remember what I said a moment ago, you have to touch them 12 times a year to maintain that relationship. Otherwise, they will start to forget about you. So how many relationships are you currently maintaining? And remember, it takes 12 touches to maintain a relationship. So you can quickly calculate that by determining the number of names in your database and multiplying that by the number of touches that you proactively launch into that database. I also suggest that you go to a list broker, any list broker, and ask him or her for a count of the demographically identical companies that exist in your marketplace. Here's an example. I have a client in Northern California that believed, based on anecdotal evidence, that there were about 20,000 prospects in the state of California that they could pursue. Once they called a list broker and identified who was demographically identical, that information grew from very few relatively speaking, opportunities to over 143,000 opportunities in the state of California to pursue. Now, if you were building a game plan, I think you'd have a different plan for 100,000 opportunities than you would for 20,000. That's the value of getting in touch and staying in touch, because these old school marketing tactics literally are causing your marketing dollars to fly out of the window. Granted, 3 to 4% are now buyers, 95, 96% are future buyers. If you don't follow up and stay in touch with those future buyers, the money you spent to get those future buyers identified is totally wasted and it will evaporate. You see, the magical secret sauce is I want to help you implement our Autopilot system so that you and your team can be at the intersection of trust and timing. You see, you can obtain trust with 1 or 2 phone calls, 1 or 2 emails, and a little bit of follow-up. But the problem is that helps you get trust with now buyers. Future buyers require monthly touches according to the Harvard Business Review. That's not me speaking, that's Harvard. So if you're not touching thousands of people every month, I will argue that you're undercompeting. And when you undercompete, your revenue underperforms. You see, the reason this works is a phenomenon that we call the seller's time conundrum. When you stop and think about it, in a business-to-business mode, there's only 173 hours of available sales time per calendar month, give or take. Now, in those 173 hours, 8 to 5 days a week, you are asking many salespeople to prospect. But you see, I can't prospect while I'm selling. And I affectionately call prospecting searching for someone who wants to buy. Now, you also can't search while you're serving your existing clients. So there's a conflict that goes back to that image I showed you of a salesperson doing 83 different things. Then we have meetings, we have travel, we have sales call preparation, proposal writing, employee issues, finance issues, operation issues. Every hour of time that you take away from selling reduces in direct mathematical proportion your ability to produce new revenue. Why don't you have bots do all of the things that humans can't do and let humans do what we do best, which is maintain relationships, build rapport, solve problems for our clients, and justify our fees. We also use bots for customer support and inside sales. As I said a moment ago, we can answer the phone. We can qualify opportunities based on the input from the customer, and bots literally can hear trigger words, and based on what they hear from the customer, assign the customer to a follow-up campaign. Or if you're responding to customers with text messages or email messages, bots learn to read and again respond appropriately. They can transfer calls to your inside salespeople or to outside salespeople or to a manager. They can send information. Our conversational bots sound like human beings. As a matter of fact, our Autopilot conversational bots are available for you to test drive if you go to my website. I'll send you the link to my website on the last slide. But let's face it, there's many tasks that can't be done because we just can't get to them. Let's make sure we go for it in the proper way. Now, our lead generation process is pretty straightforward. We do outreach based on your desires and your customers' comfort level by voice calls, by SMS, text messaging, and or by email. We will read the response with a bot and assign it to an appropriate bucket. Now, if the response is negative, that response goes into the do not disturb bucket. We won't call them, we won't email them. If it's neutral, we'll send some follow-up information, perhaps a brochure, an information package, or invite them to a demo or to a webinar or to a trade show. If it's positive, we will train the bot to pursue booking an appointment with the prospect. So that appointment will then show up in your calendar, and perhaps for the first time, your calendar will be chock full with good appointments, qualified people, and you can actually listen to the activity or read the conversation so you know what has occurred with that prospect before you pick up your phone or before you participate in the appointment. Now, our autopilot system basically does 80% of the selling at about 5% of the cost. So one of the things we're very proud of is this tool is available financially to virtually all organizations, regardless of size. We have the ability to make thousands of calls or contacts every day. As I said, Autopilot reads or listens to the response from your prospects, and based on understanding the English language, the Autopilot bot will do the appropriate activity. Now, Autopilot is not a CRM. As a matter of fact, we don't offer any training for you and or your team to put their hands on a keyboard as it pertains to implementing our Autopilot system. Autopilot does all of its work inside of its own artificial intelligence based on rules that you help us establish. And part of our service is we will train your bot to be the best salesperson you've ever hired. It will know all of your terms, conditions, inventory availability, prices, literally everything about your business will be loaded into its memory so that it can respond very professionally. The benefit of this is the only time you will ever have any keyboarding is after an appointment is set in your calendar. And if you'd like, we can electronically synchronize Autopilot with your existing calendar so you won't have to learn anything new or different. This speeds up the startup process and it gets a good feeling going between your team and the new technology. One of the things we'll do is help you build the database. Perhaps for the first time, you can embrace acquiring the largest database possible. Remember, with a bot, we have the ability to make 10,000 cold calls every day, an equal number of emails and or text messages. So let's take a look at how big you want to be, and then let's get in touch and stay in touch with all demographically desirable prospects all of the time. Now, one of the things we build into every one of our systems are workflows to manage the decisions that have been made. On the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see a list of the typical standard workflows that we build. The wake up is the campaign we send to dead leads and dormant accounts. The nurture is the wait campaign that you see on the screen. Every one of those steps, every one of those decisions is managed by our artificial intelligence. Any other system would require a human to make a decision and push a key button. We have a referral campaign designed to get referrals from all of your existing customers to their friends and their contacts. We will optimize your reputation through Google reviews. And the unfortunate event that you lose a sale, we've actually found that we can resurrect lost sales by getting in touch with them and staying in touch perpetually. If you win a sale, we will automatically send thank you notes, and we coordinate all of the activity required to go from thank you for the contract to your service has been launched and set up. So the artificial intelligence impacts your operation and your back office environment also. We have approach emails to approach strangers, voice calls, and text messaging. We reactivate dead leads and accounts as a process to move forward. We are able to do this by asking you to record one message, and we take that one message and we can distribute it to hundreds or even thousands of people every day. One of the benefits of utilizing our autopilot system is we can change message and method very rapidly. As I'm sure you know, no one can predict the performance of any new marketing campaign. All we can do is launch the campaign and then measure the results. Well, we can do A/B testing on your campaign and your message until we have it perfect. We have the ability to do cold outreach at a phenomenal level. And most importantly, this is all done without you paying a human being to do that work. We can do unlimited text messages, broadcast voicemails, and we can drive to the appropriate person. So I hope I've explained in some detail what we do. Our Autopilot system is affordable by all and available today. When you become an Autopilot client, you'll benefit from more qualified leads. You will never again lose an inbound inquiry. You'll never have a salesperson walk by your office and say, "Hey, do you remember that guy that called last Tuesday?" That doesn't happen anymore. You will have much more selling time. Some studies show that the average salesperson spends 30%, 34%, of their day prospecting. What would happen to your top line were we to convert that time that they're spending searching into time with qualified, interested, and nurtured now buyers that our Autopilot system has developed for you? You'll have more revenue and more profits, many more relationships, less attrition of salespeople and customers, and we will document a dramatic increase in the lifetime value of your customers. So let me close by saying thank you very much for attending today. I invite you all to go to my website, salesautopilot.net, and take a free test drive of both our inbound Autopilot and our outbound Autopilot. Thank you again for your time and your interest. As always, I wish you good luck and good selling. This is Gil Cargill, and you can reach me at www.salesautopilot.net or gil@gilcargill.com. Have a great day and go sell somebody something. Thanks for your time.